Hey y'all, my name is Eric Hoerger, playing White Scars with Astra Militarum Allies, though once you get to the board you wouldn't realize it because I've got like 1150 points of Astra Militarum. Today we're playing the Hearts and Homes. Since I'm playing against Matt Cerino and his drop pods, this is one that can be rather difficult because I imagine his plan is he's going to drop pods on every objective. What's going to be up to me to do is essentially start playing whack-a-mole. I've got to make sure that I can contest one of his home objectives, which I think I have just enough mobility to do, and I have to make sure that he doesn't control the relic. As long as I do that and essentially take one half the board and move my blobs into the middle, I should be fine. I got a little sneaky trick up my sleeve for the drop pods to hopefully make them scatter all over the place with the Land Spear Storm. But other than that, it's going to be tough. I mean, this is a mission that's very good for drop pods. Problem with the Land Spear Storm, if I put it out, is that I can't take first blood, but I should be able to get the other secondaries. I should be able to get Moment of Bloodshed, I should be able to get Livenbreaker, I should be able to get Slay the Warlord. So it should turn out alright. I'm going to be taking, not the accumulation, I'll be taking the Heart, because eventually I'm going to be able to move onto the center with my blobs, and that's probably going to win it for me if I can prevent him from accumulating.
Hey, Matt from Team Stomping Ground here, and today we're playing with the new Space Wolves. We're playing a little Drop Wolves. So right off the bat, I like to preface, I only actually own 7 drop pods, and I'm playing 11 podless today. So I am going to be using some cups, solo cups. And no, we're not drinking. That's for a later battle report. So pretty much my strategy is going to be against the Mass Guard Blob. I am allying Grey Knight, so I do have 6 Incinerators on my list. And Cleansing Flame. I'm probably going to fish for even Cleansing Flame potentially on Kodiaz, so I've got a little bit more Cleansing Flame. And my goal is going to be to drop down, get in his face, and just try to keep whittling back those guard blobs. The one that's probably less psychically buffed up is going to be the one I'm going to target, obviously. And the biggest thing is I'm going to spread the board and make him play my game. If I can get on every objective off the beginning, be everywhere, and kind of just force him into doing what I want him to do, force him to split his fire, whittle down, and just let my Marines be Marines. Bolter fire is a great cure for guards, so we'll see how it goes. Check out the game.
Hey guys, it's Chance here.
And Jesse.
I'm bringing you guys another battle report. Now we got something a little bit different for you this time. You want to kind of run through it, Jesse?
Yeah, so this battle report is actually one of our Nova testing. So we had a team test weekend. We had a very structured test weekend scheduled for Nova, learning the missions. More importantly, testing out matchups and kind of seeing how you would stabilize in certain matchups. So Eric wanted to specifically test against the new Space Wolf drop pods. It was one of our like 4 or 5 test games for the day. Yeah. That they were participating in, and he was more worried about stabilizing. So this is kind of a shorter game. They were really only going into it planning on playing the first 3 games. Kind of call it after that, see where things were laying.
Yeah, do a little bit of theory hammer or whatever.
Exactly. This way here, unfortunately, as you guys know, Warhammer takes a while to play, and going and getting utterly prepared for an event is very, very hard to do if you're going to play nothing but full games.
It's definitely taxing. When you take a look at tournament games and things that people go for, if you're a League of Legends player, it takes you 40 minutes to play a game. Cool, and you can hop back in. If you play Magic the Gathering, you can crunch 100 games in a day if you really are just testing all day. The problem with Warhammer is everything is very precise. You need multiple people, tons of models, this, that, the other, table space, a store to play at, that sort of thing. So it's one of those things where you look at what Eric's laying out here. He physically has to do that. He can't sit there and go, well, I think I'd deploy here and this and that. No. We have to actually crunch the games out. And you see him moving that entire Blob Guard army. Oh, man. He's taking up the entire table.
Yeah, so it's Vanguard deployment. And they're playing Hearts and Homes. Eric is going for the Hearts, as we know. And you see him here. So there's a lot of drop pods. There's a lot of flamer action being played because he went to go up against something fairly flamer heavy. Again, pretty bad matchup.
Templates. They're usually the way that you get the
So you see him spreading everything, and this is a time-consuming process. His deployment takes forever.
But it's also something that a lot of tournament players need to master. If you're going to go to one of these events and you're going to play an army with a huge footprint, you need to take up space. You need to get good at this. You can't have half of them touching or like at a half. You need to space your guys out. It is the advantage of the army.
It can be game breaking.
Yeah.
If you don't spread, and your opponent gets just a couple good things, then yeah, it could be absolutely game breaking.
Especially if he's got a Thunderfire or Flamers or this or that, he just gets more guys for free.
So you see here, he went ahead, he deployed his bikes. You see him all the way along the table edge there. And for this particular one, again, because we were doing team testing, a lot of Matt's drop pods were being borrowed by other people playing drop pods.
We needed, drop pods in other places sometimes, so Matt decides to fill it in with
Solo cups. Basically, Matt's going with the idea of he's not playing at Nova, so he's letting everybody else that borrow the actual models to get his precise testing in, as well as borrow them for the event. Yeah. And that kind of leaves him a little short-handed there.
He's being a good guy, though. He's being a good guy.
So we see him, drop potting him. He has top of turn. And his game plan is this. He has to stop Eric from taking the middle. The problem is, with Infiltrate and Scout, that Landspeeder Storm is now in the middle of the table.
Yeah.
And that one key thing is that Landspeeder Storm has the jamming beacon on it. Yeah. So when you do scatter, you scatter to, Kingdom Come. We're not getting some great scatters here where drop pods are landing on objectives, which is ideally what you would like. You would like some drop pods to land on objectives.
Yeah.
But it's basically spreading the field. He's coming in. He's trying to keep pressure on the blobs. It's a hard thing to do though.
It's one of those things where you look at this mission and it's almost, I wouldn't say made for a blob army, but it really heavily favors it because he's gonna walk in mass and he can wave it.
Sort of. So Eric's actually playing a close combat blob.
Okay.
So he does have 4 las cannons in each, but he's not going with the
fully kitted.
Yeah. Well, it sort of is. He's going with his allies, his unit selections. They're all designed to dictate that he will push forward. He will go to your face. He's taking priest, so he's fearless.
Okay.
If you're shooting back guard, you're taking a lot of withering firepower, Pask, things like that. So you're not really going on the idea of, I'm going to push forward. You're really going on the idea of I'm going to shoot you off the table.
Yeah.
He's not playing that style, so his guard has to be spread out because he needs those bodies to get across the table. And then B, he has to get it there, and it's a rough thing to do.
Yeah,
so
he pretty much has to, for lack of a better term, move the line of scrimmage.
I couldn't put it any better way.
So you see right here, we see that Landspeeder Storm still on the table. You want to tell us what happened to that, Justin?
So Matt went ahead. That's actually, I believe, the Purgation Squad with 4 incinerators.
Yeah.
Might be the Purifier. I don't remember off the top of my head.
It was a long weekend.
Yeah, but he did flame in there with multiple incinerators, wounding on 2s, just killing scouts, and left 1 scout alive.
Which makes sense for Matt's luck.
Failed to kill the Landspeeder.
So he's still sitting there, still scattering stuff, that sort of deal. And you can see Eric's been getting it out of dodge.
Sort of. He's not really getting it out of dodge because there is still a unit over there. Yeah. But he's basically stopping Matt from holding that objective, going, okay, well, now you have to waste a turn killing my Landspeeder Storm, which means all those flamers are not coming out. And then you see Eric doing this big thing here where he's stringing out his more mobile characters so that he can get a shorter charge distance and just kind of slingshot the blob behind with its 6 inches per turn consolidation moves.
You can definitely tell that he's played this so much.
Mm-hmm. And with the adorable bike character in there, it's not really a thing. But no, this is actually one of the things that Eric comments about later. He got real greedy. He assaulted those two drop pods, and he really had no reason to. They weren't sitting on an objective or anything like that. They were simply in the way. But by assaulting them, he lost a huge chunk of his blob.
His footprint, yeah.
To explosions. They just exploded. And, now that it's all strength 4, they exploded, wounded the guardsmen.
Yeah.
On 3s.
They're mere men.
Yeah, and they disappeared in the explosion. I think both of them were a 6-inch explosion too. Yeah. So it was like maximum carnage.
Power, yeah. We can see here how when he decides that he's gonna go into combat, he's gonna make that move. You have to be sure when you make that move when you're playing this type of blob, because to recover from this sort of thing, I mean, you can see him now. Matt's trying to pinch him.
Yeah, so he's trying to pinch him. The big problem is Matt has no way of dealing with the fact that his blob is sitting on the middle objective.
Yeah.
And remember that is Hoerger's primary here.
Yeah. He needs that. We see right here, I mean, he's trying to...
Basically, this is... They've determined that this turn, like this little block of time, is kind of the all-in moment. It's, is Hoerger's, army going to stabilize or not?
Yeah.
And you can play the game out, you could string a lot of things, but it's kind of one of those things of, okay, I stabilized, now I need to, and that was the whole focus of the test, is a bend but don't break kind of scenario. And that's what they're really focusing on here.
Something that, tried and true to the guard for sure. Bend but not break. Take casualties but take objectives as well, that sort of thing.
So, you see, Hoerger just kind of sacrifices some units to Matt to ensure this. He's keeping pressure on some of Matt's home objectives. He's sitting a blob on the middle. He has his warlord and everything that can now break out of the blob and just kind of go on its own and deal with 5-man squads. It's just one of those strengths of that army. And Eric plays it very, very well.
Definitely. You can see him. He's creating essentially lanes of combat here. He's got one running right through the middle, and he's got one on the flank. Matt Cerino, he dropped the drop pod on that almost near the top left, but it's kind of sitting there, and it goes, okay, it might deal with the land speeder. Cool. But Eric just bought himself an entire turn to that squad not doing anything but kill a model that was pretty much dead to begin with.
Exactly. And because that was an objective secured unit, and what was holding the objective was not, he wasn't able to clock the points for it. Yeah. So now you find yourself falling into a point deficit. Your army is dwindling, and now you got blobs that are sitting where they need to be, and just characters are now able to split off and just kind of go do their thing.
It's one of those things where it's so much easier to play from ahead than behind.
Mm-hmm.
It always is, and you never want to set yourself up to where it's kind of one of those. You don't want to set yourself up to not be able to make choices, because then your opponent will know that. If they're a very good player, they're going to know the scenario like this in their head, where I'm sure these two guys are going, I know you're going to move here, so now I get to move there.
Well, not only do they know that, but they're also talking all these moves through.
Exactly.
So Matt and Eric are talking the moves, and okay, well, what can I do? And then Eric and Matt are talking through, and Eric's going, okay, well, what can I do? And they're not necessarily playing each other as much as they're testing the armies.
It's one thing to say, if you're going to be testing for anything, you kind of have to put your competitiveness almost at the door. Yeah, you want to win, that sort of thing. But the person that you're testing with, be it your friend, be it a team partner, be it someone that you know at your level game still.
I lost the majority of my test games, and honestly, I think I'm 100% more. I came out of that weekend feeling confident where I was shaky about going to Nova with my list.
There's always the saying, it might be cliche at this time, where you learn more from your losses than your wins. But being a communicative test partner, being a communicative player in general, when things aren't on the line, can help out you, it can help out your play group, could help out your story even.
So, right now, you see Eric's game plan. They're talking it through. So Eric's just going to clean up the units in the back. He still has sole control over that middle zone.
Yeah.
There's, it's a no man's zone. And he's just assaulting what units Matt has. And it doesn't matter for Eric. If he stays locked in combat with 3-4 units of Marines, whatever, I'm locked in combat with them. We're here. Exactly. We're not going anywhere. They're not doing anything. I can sit on this. He's not grabbing an objective. I'm not grabbing an objective. But I'm playing for the middle. He's created that wall of denial around the middle, which is a great play.
He's done what we like to think is something that great players do. And they dictate the pace of play. And they dictate the game plan.
Yeah.
And we see how effective that game plan really was for him. So right after this, we can see the guys kind of cleaning up, thinking about it, that sort of thing. We're going to go directly to the players after this. We're going to see what went on in their heads, what they were thinking about, and how they think the other turns were going to turn out.
Yeah, it's they played through their scenarios, and so let's see what it is. It's a little bit different for you guys, and hope you enjoy their post game.
What's up, guys? So you just watched the battle report. So we're recapping a little bit. The battle report was a little bit shorter than you're used to. We actually wound up calling the game on turn 3. This is a test game for Nova. And the biggest reason is, so we played Nova Mission, Hearts and Homes, and we actually figured out that it was pretty much impossible for me to win the game. So you had taken Relic, so you were going to get that. Can't deal with the Chapter Master, who's running around the middle like a crazy man. And I just didn't clock any points on turn 2, was going to get 1 on turn 3, and just wasn't going to be able to contest or anything. So the blobs and kind of the intimidating things. You think blobs, and you're like, okay, I got all these incinerators. I'll just get up in your face and keep whittling you back. But it doesn't work that way. Your blobs are incredibly different. And it was like scary and surprisingly different to how they were. Right? You're used to, you're used to the quintessential blob, just keep putting pressure on them, and as they slowly get pushed in the corner, you get closer to those las guns, and then you're fine. So it was different. It was definitely different. So kind of talking more about the game, I think I agree with what you said during the game. Bringing in the drop pod with the incinerator early was probably not the right call.
Right.
I needed to commit more to getting first blood, but I needed to spread the board and get more objectives secured on different objectives and just kind of make you go everywhere.
Right.
Surprisingly, I did like the scout or the infiltrate move of the land speeder.
The land speeder? Yeah, I did too, actually. And the reason why is, it wasn't going to kill him. It didn't shoot the entire game. It died very early.
Yeah.
However, the point that I had there, and so as you guys saw, I infiltrated a land raider up in the middle on the relic, or a land speeder up in the middle of the relic, and then eventually brought it over here. And what it effectively did is it had essentially a no-fly zone in the center where you had 66% chance of just flying to Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
And it was there, and yeah, my scouts pretty much got toasted.
Yeah.
And this is a big change in open top, is that he managed to kill all 5 of my scouts without them ever getting out of the transport. Man, they're toasty right now. But no, I really like it because the big weakness with the blobs is the speed. And I've been finding that I've increasingly been trying to put more speed in between having 3 characters on bike now, having Land Spear Storm, because the key to this mission essentially, when I'm playing the Heart and you're playing the Homes, is I have to essentially play these 4 objectives right here.
Yeah.
If you control one of your 2, then you can't get points unless you contest both of mine.
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to get one because, frankly, you don't. Even with the bikes, you don't have the mobility to get to the other side of the table reliably.
Right.
I mean,
right.
like late game, you do. We kind of saw that was going to happen. Like the chapter master was going to break off and just go over and clean off the unit at the bottom corner. So yeah, eventually you're getting there, but not early enough to stop me from taking up those points. So yeah, you have to. I think the biggest one honestly comes down to contesting the other one in my quarter.
Right.
My other home.
And that's why Vanguard is such a key deployment for this, for the blobs, is that I can put one within charge range there, one within charge range or contest range with just bikes here. And this is, Jesse suggested the change to put my second 2 characters on bikes, and it has been money just in terms of having that additional distance for blobs to really just play the mission more and more.
Now, so you talk about the deployment here. So it's Vanguard, which makes it different. I think Hammer and Anvil obviously wouldn't work. I still think Dawn of War would honestly be actually would almost be a better. I think Dawn of War would be too much of a stalemate deployment for this, because then each person sits on each of their own objectives, and now it becomes a sit back and forth, see who can poke at each other more. I mean, so I do agree. I think the Vanguard, and like it's, the blobs, I mean, look, you deployed everything, and then you're like, oh wait, I still got to put my bikes here. Because you just have this whole corner of the table, it just is a no man's land. And then, yeah, exactly. The speeder in the middle means I can't do what I want to do, and that's get a drop pod on the relic on turn 1. Because the drop pod can sit there and just claim the relic for me and get me that point of turn. And now it also makes you, it has a point where I'm drawing all your attention. I'm drawing you to that drop pod, but you're still going that way anyway, but now it's a drop pod on top that if you don't blow up, if for some reason you wreck, it's now just parked on top of the objective.
Right. And the other thing is, and why I was talking about having incinerators for a second, sometimes I have to kill a drop pod on top of an objective. And that means assaulting it with Meltabombs. That does 2 things. First of all, what did I lose? Like, I lost 15 guardsmen only because I was rerolling save, and I lost my Libby because the 2 drop pods just blew up everywhere. What was it, 57 wounds?
Yeah, between the 2 drop pods.
And the funny thing is, I'd asked him about 2 minutes before, so you don't have any more template weapons coming down, right?
No, they were already down. I didn't lie to you. I said none were coming down. They were already on the table.
I swear, no longer. If there's a drop pod that's not on the objective, I'm never going to assault it. If there's one on the objective, I might just leave the guy there because I can't.
And that's the funny thing. Every drop pod scattered off an objective.
Oh my gosh!
Which is like, okay, you expect, obviously, 2/3 of the time you expect to scatter. You place it right on top of the objective, maybe you're good, but like all of them was rough. And yeah, exactly. You didn't by any means need to charge it. All at that point is it's a storm bolter.
I know, right?
Boo-hoo.
It got me a moment of bloodshed, so it did get me 2 points. However, I think I was going to get it later in the game.
Oh yeah, later on. But the problem is you were eventually going to have to kill drop pods to get moment of bloodshed.
Yeah,
I don't think you had a better chance to do it. I don't think there was another opportunity where you could have gotten it without a drop pod being involved.
Well, what I think I could have done potentially, one blob get one kill, another blob get another kill, and then the chapter master get a third. But I would have to time it just right.
Yeah.
So.
And you have to by doing something stupid like my one wolf guard holding on there.
Yeah.
Or like chapter master there didn't kill only killed 2 guys that round.
I expect him to take 2 because he only has 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, wounding on 1s. You average about 3. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't expect him to get all 5. Maybe if he had killed 1 in shooting. I was very tempted, honestly, to use the orbital bombardment and just like go for money.
Well, and I was honestly, when you broke off there, I was kind of expecting you to drop it and clip the 5-man unit plus both pods.
Yeah, and I thought about it, but I also wanted to save it later on because it's just an enduring threat for you. You have to have it in the back of your mind. Yeah. And eventually, if you came out with these guys, I was really going to try and hit them.
Even now where they are, like, it gives you an opportunity late game, and, like, you're getting close to the objectives, and you see I'm potentially collecting points. Sure, worst case scenario, throw it. Maybe I break, maybe I run, maybe you do nothing, but it's better than,
And, and at this point, if we're talking turn 4 and you have to go to ground in order to keep them alive, that's a win for me, because you are not shooting those things. And...
Well, they're kind of, like, stuck. I mean, the classic, plight of the drop pod is once you come down, you're there. Mm-hmm. You're not going anywhere. Where you are, you're moving 6 inches a turn if you're lucky.
Right.
And that's kind of the plight. Mm-hmm. And that's always the weakness drop pod. That's why, when Space Marines can come down and combat squad and have so many units, it's like, who cares if one's going 6 that way, one's going 6 that way, and everyone's going a different direction. This was 11 pods. So I was like, okay, I have 11 pods coming down. I can go a little bit of anywhere I want.
Right. And so where I think we were looking to score at the end of the game, I don't think much this was going to change this. That's going to remain contested. I don't think it clears out enough. Between this and the chapter master, I believe I get relic.
Oh,
you've only got 1 unit who can really do anything with that.
100%. You got 2 command that's going to hold this.
Right.
And you have 5 for the relic, and then it's 2 points for each objective pass set, or 1?
1 point for this one, which I probably sadly try and kill with the melted bombs and just suck it up. And then that squad right there.
Well, you put 2 command squads with melted bombs, right?
Right, they got 1 melted bomb, so I could potentially go for that as well.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Yeah, I've had so many melted bombs since I already done. Yeah, just a little bit. Couple. There's a reason why. That and dice.
Chapter master can go that way.
Right. And he was going to try and wipe them out. But the thing is that what you would have done is you would have moved them back so that if you kept them right here, I could pull you off of the objective.
Oh, yeah.
You would have moved to stand right on the objective, and then I have to kill all 5. And that's probably going to take another 2 turns to do. So
but you were also talking. So this was top of 3. You would have cleared out. You would have broken out of this on top of 3.
Yep.
More than likely. Well, maybe not 4 attacks, maybe.
4. Yeah, probably not. I probably would have hit and run out and then just used the blob to shoot him. But I would have had to get over there one way or the other.
So. Yeah, I mean, I see you getting 5, 6, 7, 8 at least 8 on primary, and you had all 3 secondaries. So that's 14. I would have gotten 2 secondaries, maybe at 4. I would have probably held on to line breaker.
Yeah, so I think so.
4. I got 1 point this turn is 5. I'll maybe pick up 2 more points, maybe. So that's 7 we're looking. Yeah, I mean, we're not looking this game in a close game. Like, that's kind of what we looked at it as, and even if 13's the absolute max I could get. We were pretty confident you were getting 14, and 13's the max I get because I've got, even though I managed to get 9 on primaries, which to get that I have to knock you off everything, and then I've got, at this point, 4
gone
points
6 and you would have had to have gone 3s. Yeah.
Exactly, so not gonna happen.
Yeah, so this was your first game that you were trying out the 3 fast attack drop pods, so you can throw allies in them. What are your next thoughts in terms of playing around with X? I know that's your favorite part of the Codex at this point, right?
It's at least the one that I see the most opportunity for tournament end. Honestly, my thoughts with it, there's some cool stuff you can do. I think the mass units were a little light. I think there's a lot of points in Grey Knights. I don't know. It's worth trying out. This is a really, the heavy blob, that's kind of why I brought the incinerators, but the heavy combat blob is so different.
Yeah.
Against the heavy shooting blob, I think I'm fine. I think I get in your face, and there's enough. I can come down here onto terrain and flame it, and then be in terrain. So even your lad scans come back and make sure you're going to shoot your entire blob and kill 1 unit. Okay. Well, then I've got 5 other units on turn 1 that are pushing as well. So like, 2 blobs kill 2 units, and then I have 4 units that just come in at that point. And if you're not, like, if you're talking like the classic blobs with like commissars and priests and psychers, I'll eventually whittle you down with shooting in combat. You don't have those punchy characters to clean up. You don't have Yarrick, stuff like that. So, and a chapter master and guys who can come in, attack priest who has an AP weapon. So, yeah, I think it was interesting. It's definitely a fun looking blob, and you'll see that like the charge on turn 1 was nuts. Like being able to, all right, you got 4 through cover. Well, this guy jumped out here. You jumped a couple guys out. Tech Priest jumps out, which allows the chapter master to then chain off of him. And then so your blobs charge here, and you've got like this little just point coming out of just one a 3-inch charge to get those.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Yeah.
Definitely look.
I'm having so much fun with this list. We'll see how it does in Nova.
Yeah, right. That'll be a test.
Yeah, that'll be a little bit of one. The funny thing is, I think I've only fired my las cannons twice in the last 3 games. The last 2 I haven't fired it at all. I'm finding that the las cannons with the all the buffs you can get on presence. You can either get your tank hunter ignore cover. You can also get that ignore cover from the psychic stuff. It can potentially be devastating.
Yeah.
I'm keeping them in there for the Wave Serpent matchup, but I'm finding increasingly that by focusing on what las cannons can do, you're really cutting down on being able to play the mission, particularly when we're looking at the Nova pack.
Yeah, because it kind of anchors you a little.
Speed.
It anchors because you don't want to move them because you want to shoot them. But
right.
One interesting thing, so you definitely have the one of the things, like precision shot special rule is definitely something that's viable with the las cannons. I played a game before. I was able to snipe a grim character out of Screamer Star.
That's hysterical.
Because you're like, okay, like precision and especially your precision and impressions up. So there's options, but I with your, especially how you have the list built, I feel like the las cannons are honestly the weakest thing. But you want to keep them because you need to have a threat.
Right.
Even just to keep people honest.
Yes.
They're not necessarily
going to there.
Yeah. They're not going to win you the game, but at that point they're 80 points per blob. They're just keeping you honest.
Right.
Making you play the game. Mm-hmm. So yeah, otherwise you're going to see people like, oh, he has no range threat. I'll just jump out with Wave Serpent. Small vehicles. Like Razorbacks are going to just run out everywhere. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it gives you some option.
And also just assaulting vehicles in general with melta bombs is scary.
Yeah.
So I need to have some way to take care of them.
How many do you have in this list? 5 per blob?
4 per blob at this point.
4 per blob. Each platoon command.
Oh, you mean the multi bombs? Yeah. So I've got each blob has 5. The Tech Marine and the Libby each have 1. So there's 6 of those per blob. The scouts have them, and both of the PCSs have them.
The bike squad has 1. Oh, they have melta guns, right?
They have melta bomb.
They have melta bomb, and chapter master has fists.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, that's a lot of melta bomb.
Yeah.
A lot of melta.
Well, I hear there's things called Imperial Knights.
Yeah, right? They're scary.
Yeah, of course, they also explode even bigger than the drop pods, so I'm really afraid of that.
True.
They will die, so will I.
But at that point, you're kind of making a trade you're worth taking.
Yeah,
you're probably making that trade on your terms and not on theirs.
I hope.
That's the plan.
That's the plan, at least.
Well, we'll see how it does, so we'll keep an eye on them. All right.
Sounds good.
Thanks for watching, guys.